that it's really important for us to live surprising lives. Michael Frost, he goes on and says, if things are too predictable, there's no surprise in that. Like if people can tell what we're doing, if people know what you're going to say before you say it, there's no intrigue in that. There's no question. Has anyone seen the movie The Sixth Sense? It's quite old now. Yeah, I didn't see the ending come and it was surprising. It engaged me. It blew my. It was a surprising kind of thing. Anyway, Michael Frost says that we've got to live surprising lives these days, and if we live surprising lives, and we're going to get into what that actually is in a minute, well, then that is the kind of thing that will prick people's interest. It'll engage people in wondering, what is it about your faith? Why is it that that you live a life the way that you live? So he says, if predictability is high, then our impact is low. And so Christians then should live impacting, unpredictable kind of lives. Last week we had a really brief look at it. The Roman Empire back in the 330 BC to 360, and there was an emperor, a Roman emperor there called Julian, and he was known as Julian the Apostate. He was the last non-Christian emperor of Rome for quite some time, and he became frustrated. Like the Christians in the 3rd century and leading up to that, they were so surprising, like they were so loving. They were so accepting of anyone regardless of their social status. They welcomed strangers. They fed the poor. They cared for the dying. That even talks about, Julian, the emperor even talks about, they even cared for the graves of the dead. And they did it in such a way that was so surprising that actually the emperor of Rome was kind of worried that the Christians were winning over too many of his subjects. Like the Christian movement was so countercultural to anything that they'd ever experienced in that time that the top man, the emperor of Rome, recognised it and thought, you know what, we've got to challenge this. And he ended up trying to get his own priests to outlove, to outgive, to outserve, to outfeed the Christians. And it obviously failed, and because his own priests, so like the pagan priests, obviously they didn't care enough, whereas Christians were filled with the Holy Spirit. We know we're meant to live Spirit-led lives. We know we're meant to be generous and hospitable and share the love of God. And when that powers us, there's nothing that can come against that. There's nothing in the world that can beat the power of God at work through us. That is what surprising is, yeah? And so we're looking at what it is to lead surprising lives. And this week is the first week of 5 where we're looking at this, and it's not the Bible here, by the way. This is not the only way to do it, but we're looking at 5 missional habits that if we can make them habitual, like if we can, is that the right word, habitual? If they can become rhythms of our lives. And I'm not just talking about here's 5 sermons, here's an easy way of getting out of 5 weeks of church or anything like that. But if these 5 things can become part of how we function in our work life, our home life, and our family life, then they may enable us to live lives that are quite surprising to those around us. Surprising enough that your friends might be interested or intrigued about what is your motivation. Or, and we'll get to this at the end, or they'll be surprising enough for people to give you the bird, which is kind of another thing that's to be expected out of this. So, at the end of this week, so we've got 5 weeks of these. Today we're looking at blessing others, and I'm going to need a school. Does anyone know a good school teacher here? No? Oh. I need a scribe. I need someone with good whiteboard skills.
Sonia's a good school.
No, Sonia doesn't want to. I respect that. Who else is it? Do-do-do-do. I need a scribe. Come on. Thanks. Yeah, give her a round of applause. I'll just just get you a texter. I thought one of those would work, but I've got one here. All right, so we're looking at blessing others. Oh, I thought I had one there. Does the red one work? Oh, I had a black one on that table over there, and I thought I brought it over here. And then when I saw two texters underneath the whiteboard, I went, you know what? That'll do. All right. So we're looking at blessing other people, yeah? Because at the end of this week, I would encourage you. You come to church. You know what church is for me? For these next 5 weeks, this church gathering like this is like half time of a football match. This is where we come back in together and we get encouraged, we get spurred on, and then we go out of here because the game we play is not in here at this point in time right now, yeah? The whole point of being followers of Jesus is not so that we can hide from the world or come in here and have our nice church services, but it's so that we can reveal the kingdom of God to those who don't yet know him. So this is half time. This is the team in a huddle. The next 5 weeks especially, because you can see view churches in other ways, but for the next 5 weeks, this is half time because I want to send you out into the world, into your places of work, into your families with something, with a challenge. So this week, I want you to bless 3 people. How many? 3. And what are we doing? Yeah, I'm going to get to that. One of those people needs to be within the church. And I could say Reedy Creek, but I don't honestly care where it is. But one of you 3 needs to be a Christian. The reason why, I'll get to it later. One of the 3 needs to be a non-Christian for the obvious reason. All right? The third one can be of your choice, either someone who believes or someone who doesn't. But I want to challenge you to bless 3 people this week. Remember, this is about developing missional habits. And it's not about this week because next week we're doing something different and you have to do something different. You are right, next week it will be something different. But it doesn't come at the expense of blessing people. So there's 5 missional habits. Blessing people, eating with people, learning, listening, and being sent. If these can become habits of what we do, then surprising lives. All right, let's go on to this. Cool. You can sit down because I've jumped ahead. Just sit here. Thanks, Tash. I just realised that I forgot something. Anyway, don't worry about it. Can anyone tell me what it means to bless someone? It's not a trick question. You what? You could do something. Yep, that's it. It's pretty simple, really. Blessing means, and I've got this straight out of Michael Frosty, it's not my language, conferring prosperity or happiness upon someone. Does that sound normal? Does that sound like what it is to bless someone? So when someone sneezes and we say bless you, which is a little bit funny, but really at the very basic level, what we're doing is wishing them good health or, wishing them health. That's what blessing is. Blessing is essentially about building somebody up, yeah? It's pushing them up. It's about filling them with encouragement. And the term I'm going to use today is about adding strength to someone else's arm. Blessing is about adding strength to someone else's arm. Has anyone ever wondered how, have you heard Christians say, be a blessing to God? Has anyone ever heard that comment? If blessing is about adding to someone, how do we bless God? How do we add to the unaddable? Has anyone thought, that song, Bless the Lord, oh my soul? How do we bless God? Has anyone ever thought of that? Anyway, they're the kooky things my mind thinks of. This week I checked it up though. The word about what we do to bless God is a different Hebrew, like original Hebrew. It's an Old Testament word about what it is. It's about bending your knee. It's about worshipping. As opposed to the blessing that we're talking about as strengthening God. So to have the language that we bless God is still biblical, but it has a different twist to it, doesn't it? We bless God, we worship him, we bend our knee towards him, but with other people we add to their strength. Yeah, we add to the strength of somebody else. But anyway, all right, so blessing people. Anything that relieves the burden of somebody else, yeah? Anything that helps someone breathe a little easier. Anything that helps someone or lifts someone's spirits or elevates them from distress is blessing. We know this. This is really, really, really simple stuff. So, Tash, over to you. I want you guys to yell out at Tash different ways that you have blessed people in the past or ways that you imagine you could bless people in the future. All right, first one is mow the neighbour's lawn. Right. That's a green texter. You're not all going to be able to see that. That's fine. Come on, hands up. Next one. How do we bless? Buy what? Buy coffee. You're going to have to learn shorthand. Sorry, I gave you a long one. Buy coffee. I saw another hand. Words of affirmation. You've read the book. Oh, we got another one? Yeah, it's on. Doing dishes. Yeah, this is not hard. This is really, really simple. How do you bless people? What do you do? Pray for them. Have conversations with them. This is not a hands up exercise. You can spit things out at me. Gift things. Give gifts. Yep.
Love your neighbour.
You can love people. Yeah, just you can write it however you think. Love your neighbour. Yeah, there's more. If we've run out of ways to bless people, we're in trouble here. Babysit. Love it. Oh, how many parents wouldn't love a babysitter sometimes when they're... I need to get your number. I've got it. I need to write it down. Right. Any more? Who else?
Make them a cup of tea.
Yeah, cup of tea. Words of affirmations up there, isn't it? So encouraging people, patting people on the back. Take their dog for a walk. Absolutely. Make a meal. What? Be kind. Yeah, thoughtfulness. What about having empathy, compassion? What's that? Self-love. You can work them down there. What are some ways we can bless others? I'm just going to give it...
Listen to someone. It's like, if they're really passionate about a movie that you don't enjoy or
Yeah.
have an interest in, you could listen and be appreciative of their passion.
Yeah. Summarise that, Tash. You can teach, can't you? You can mentor. What's that word? Coach. We've kind of got it up there, but it's like spending quality time with people. Yeah. I see your hand at the back. Yes. No. You went like that. Oh. If you're at a car auction, the car would be yours. I used to work at the auctions. All right, anything else? All right. Thanks, Tash, for writing those. That's really important. Let's have a look at these, though. Mowing people's lawns, buying a coffee, cup of tea, words of affirmation, household chores, praying for people, giving gifts, loving people, babysitting. This is awesome. Walk dogs, make meals, kindness, self-love, compassion, listening and appreciative, giving advice, mentor. Isn't it interesting how every single one of those will cost you something? There's nothing up there that doesn't actually... Now, I'm not saying cost you money, but there's nothing on that board that won't cost you nothing. That's the whole thing about blessing people. That's how you strengthen someone's arm, is the whole idea that you are giving of yourself, whether it's your time, whether it's your money, whether it's your prayer thoughts, whether it's your skills of doing household chores. It costs. And that's the whole idea of blessing. You are strengthening someone else's arm from whatever resources that you have for yourself. Which is a very, very strong image of what God does for us and the way He communes. It cost Him to be in relationship with us. It cost Jesus. Blessing someone is a gift that they don't deserve, that they haven't earned, that you are not being looking for to be paid back from. Blessing others is very much something, it reflects the character of God. So we have up there words of affirmation. I want to, Foster points out three really simple ones, words of affirmation. It's so easy to appreciate someone. It's so easy to notice the value that someone has given a particular project or a particular part of their own character that you appreciate. It's so easy to notice those things, but it's not something that comes natural to us to actually tell them that. And the reason why it doesn't come natural, because on so many different levels, when I tell Sonia that I really appreciate something that she does, and I lift her and I encourage her and I build her up, by default I'm raising her above or lifting her. And by default we like to protect our own pride. We like to protect our own standing. Now, I know there's many different levels to this, but that is why actually affirming people doesn't come natural, because we want to be affirmed. And when we affirm others, we're lifting them up at the expense of ourselves. Now, every single word of affirmation does that, but some of it, it's only in a little way, but often it can be, especially if it's a work colleague, especially if it's your boss. You know, some of us really love our boss, and that would be really easy to do that. That's fine. These are not sweeping statements for everyone. But it doesn't come natural for us to affirm people, yet it's so easy to do. Send a note. We can send an email. We can text people. We can Facebook message them. It only has to be 122 characters, and you can do this. You can send them a smiley face, a thumbs up, and one of these, and they get the idea. Like lifting people up. I'm a words of affirmation person. And I read in the book there, he talks about a friend of his where he said, my friend can live off an encouragement for 3 months. I am one of those people. You tell me that, you encourage me and that I feed off that. That gives me life. Speaking into people and building them up gives them life. Who is the ultimate giver of life character? Jesus, God. In reflecting his character, we build people up. It's about blessing people and building them up. All right. We can do those things. This is a sad one. I reckon with many Christians, we've actually been trained out of affirming people, building them up. And I hear this a lot. Someone told me this about 3 years ago, and I've seen it now, and I hear it, and I get what he's talking about. Many are so scared of building someone up, another Christian, especially a platform person, like someone who leads worship, or someone who preaches a lot, or someone who's out the front in their Christian ministry. We don't like to affirm them because they might get an ego, and all the glory must go to God and not that person, whoever. And it's almost been trained out of us to affirm our Christian leaders, because the glory's got to go to God. But we forget that the glory goes to God, but the appreciation can still go to the servant. The God doesn't get the glory unless there is a servant willing to step out in obedience. And it's sad. You know what? I hear Christian leaders, and since I've heard this and read about this, I hear it a lot more. I hear Christian leaders praying that when I lead in worship, God, that it won't be me, and that, Lord, it's not about me and it's not about my ego. And it's almost a prayer of apology for being up there leading. And I think about, especially worship leaders and anyone that leads, it's meant to be a joy to worship him. No one the glory, you're singing in church. Like, you don't get much glory out of that. I mean, seriously, really, come on. But It's okay to enjoy what we do as Christians. You know, it's okay to be a gifted worship leader. It's okay to be a gifted youth leader and to build them up and say, you are really great in that. It's their issue about doing what they're... You know, the whole ego issue is about that individual dealing with that, not someone dealing with it for them on their behalf. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, build people up. Christians are really sometimes not so great at encouraging people, affirming people, and telling them, you know, they're really touched by whatever it is that they're doing. Gary Chapman. Has anyone heard of Gary Chapman before? You done the 5 love languages? Yeah. He did the 5 love languages. And one of those is words of affirmation, one of these. And Gary Chapman writes this about words of affirmation. Encouragement requires empathy and seeing the world from another's perspective. We must first learn what is important to the other. Only then can we give encouragement. With verbal encouragement, we are trying to communicate, I know, I care, I am with you, and how can I help? We're trying to show that we believe in the person and his or her abilities. We're giving credit, we're giving praise. And in doing so, sometimes we're praising God as well. You know, words of affirmation. You know, the scriptures are full of them about what God has done for us, who we are in him now. Something to live on. All right, another one in there that he talks about is giving gifts. Gift giving. Physical gifts. I love a gift, right? Here's the interesting thing about gifts. It's not ever about the value of a gift. It's not ever about how big it is or what colour it is. What's it about? It's about the thought behind it, isn't it? My previous colleague gave me a fake $50 note, and as I opened the card, this fake $50 note fell out, and I thought it was real. And I looked at him and said, what are you doing? Like, what are you giving me $50 for? And I picked it up, and on the back of it said, ha ha ha, it's the thought that counts. Great. I can tell you, a fake $50 note, the thought, anyway. It's the thought behind it. The thing about receiving a gift, it is someone has thought of you. Someone has been thinking of you. And a gift, when it's a thoughtful thing, it doesn't matter. Mums and dads especially know the gifts from a child. They're not worth anything, but the fact that the child puts effort into painting something or doing something, it's the thought behind the gift that really counts. A gift can show that a person's cared for, valued, loved. And I'm not a romantic person, but this is one thing that I've picked up from this book that I'll put in my pocket and Em will remind me of in about 8 months when I've forgotten it again. But it is that gifts at Christmas time, how surprising is that? Not really. Nothing much. Gifts at birthdays, how surprising is that? Not really. An amazing way to bless people is with a gift for no reason. Like, buy a gift. And when I say buy a gift, it doesn't have to be an expensive gift. You know, it can be something from the $2 shop. It can be a cup for their office that says Bonehead or something, and you give it to me. But do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. It can be free, but a gift for no reason is surprising and a blessing. Shows that you cared for someone. Shows that you're thinking of someone. Yeah? Gift giving is a good way to bless people. Big, small, little, or whatever. There can be obvious gifts. Gifts to families that are struggling. A gift when people are doing life hard. You know, maybe you've got someone you know who has just, you know, fallen into a bit of a tough time. Go and take them to the movies or do something fun. Give them a gift of joy. Gifts don't have to be difficult, but they're just a great expression of an example of I've thought of you. The most incredible gift I've ever been given was, and I really wish I'd have thought of bringing it, was this. I was in Cambodia and we were staying with some in an orphanage, and this orphan child bought me a teddy bear about this big. Cost him about $1. which is nearly 6 months' wage for that little kid. And he bought me this gift and blew my mind away. And it is probably the most valuable gift I've ever been given. I've still got the dog, like it's a little Disney dog, and it was secondhand, dirty and smelly from Cambodia. And the fact that he gave so much of what he had in something that was so meaningless to me, all of a sudden opened my eyes to the power of receiving a gift. And I realised in that one gift what impact I'd had in that child because he'd given me a teddy bear. And it nearly bowls me over to think that he spent so much on something that he has no idea is so worthless to me, but is now the most precious thing I've ever been given. You know, your little gifts, your little cup, your little word of encouragement can be so precious to the people that you're going to give them to, remember, because you're going to give them to. All right. Did I miss one? Acts of kindness. Oh, well. There's heaps of acts of kindness up there, you know. It's literally adding strength to someone else's arm, yeah? Mowing their lawns, walking their dogs, doing their dishes, fixing their cars, making them a meal. Get that idea? Is literally adding strength to their arm. You are literally blessing the socks off someone. All right. The reason why I want you to bless 3 people, and one of those is someone from within this church, the church, a believer, is because last week I talked about this whole book. It's not only about you and the way you interact in the world and with the world to share the values of the kingdoms, but it's about you being a part of encouraging the whole body to do likewise and to live likewise. I want you to bless someone from within this church because can you imagine what this church, the church, well, just Reedy Creek would look like if this idea of generosity, if this idea of blessing becomes a habit of every single person within this church? Can you imagine the amount of people, I hate talking about them out there in the world, but that don't know Jesus yet, that will be weekly, the amount of blessing that will be given out, the amount of demonstrating the reign of God in the world will happen if 260 people are blessing 3 people a week or more, if it becomes a rhythm, if it becomes a habit. You know, if this church goes out and there's people affirming people, building them up, lifting them up, even at their own expense, even at the expense of their own, get another rung up in the ladder. Can you imagine what it would be like if people, acts of kindness, I mean, if there's 200 people in this church with 2 neighbours either side, that's 400 potential acts of service to neighbours. Giving gifts. Generous. It's so important to give gifts. God is generous. It reveals his nature when we're doing these things to the people around us. And that is surprising. It is surprising. People, it's not that we're the only ones that will bless others, but if it becomes a habit, if it becomes who you are, a rhythm of your life, that you are continually lifting people, I'll promise you, people will notice you for that. People will remember you for that, admire you for it. Just like the emperor admired what the Christian people were doing, it's just that he was jealous that it was coming at the expense of his kingdom. All right, so a couple of words of warning about this blessing business. We can't bless others generously in order to convert them. If that is our motive, we're going to come undone. Our motive is to bless because we're made to be a blessing to the neighbours, to the world, the nations even, it says in the Bible. We bless others because that demonstrates God and who he is and what he is. We don't bless others simply because we're going to convert you. That they're going to see through that. Don't bless others with any sense of personal gain. We bless others because it's about generosity. It's about revealing God's character. Number 2, the person that we bless has to feel blessed. If we're blessing people and they feel manipulated or used, it's going to backfire, yeah? If we're blessing someone and they're feeling manipulated and used, maybe our motive is a little bit skew with. I'm not sure. Have you ever received a gift from someone knowing that they wanted something back in return? It leaves a really poor taste in your mouth, doesn't it? Like it leaves this idea of now I owe them. They understand that you owe them and you understand that you owe them. Or have you ever heard you need a favour from someone or someone gives you a favour and then it's, well, you owe me now. And then they call in the favour. I mean, that's not the idea of blessing people. We bless with no expectation of receiving anything in return. That's, what it's about. In Philippians, Paul says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Do not look for your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. We bless humbly, we bless gently, we bless lovingly, and we bless consistently, and we bless with no hand out the back waiting for a return. Mike Foster says there at the end of the bit on this bit, he goes, the whole idea about blessing is even if nobody ever for your entire life asks you a question about what your motivation is for being so generous, or asks you for your entire life your motivation about giving so much of your own time away, if no one ever asks you, that's okay. We still bless anyway. Because that's what God is doing. That is his character. We don't bless because we want to be asked. We bless because we're reflecting him. All right, the last one. There's no guarantee that people won't misunderstand us anyway. People may hate you because of your faith. It's like Nero, the wrong emperor. Julian, he misunderstood it. He was known as Julian the Apostate. He was aggressive against the Christians. And the Bible talks about that when we bless, we should be prepared to face resistance and persecution. If blessing people is a habitual habit, a rhythm of our life, then we will face rejection. Jesus said, blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely accuse you for all kinds of evil against you because of me. It's like intention, those last two, isn't it? Don't bless to get a return, but then don't be surprised if you get a thing. The whole idea with blessing is to keep this clear conscience. If people reject you because of, our faith in Jesus, even though you've conducted your blessing with great motive, you did gentleness, you were respectful, you were kind, you were humble about it, and all of these, people reject you because of that, well then so be it. Jesus prepared us for that. But if people reject us because we've been a bit of a jerk in the way that we do it, well then that is on us. Anyway, so I want you to think, about 5 weeks ago, before any of you were here, we're doing this series leading into Alpha. And I see, 35 people here. And we're going to start Alpha. And I believe that we should be expecting at this Alpha course about 50 people. And the reason why I think there should be 50 people is that I honestly believe if we can grab this concept of blessing people. Next week it's eating with people and then listening and then learning. If we can grab these missional habits, take them seriously and trying to ingrain them into our lives, then I actually believe that you will find it easy to invite people to be part of Alpha coming up, where we can present the gospel to them in a comfortable way, in a relaxed way, in an exploratory kind of way. bless people. 3 people, one in the church, one outside of the church, and one of either. Yeah? What I'm really reluctant to do this. This evening's service has a Facebook site. Is it a closed group? I'm about to make one. It's a closed group. I'd love it if people would join up from this thing, because next week when we talk about eating with people and so forth, I want us to share about our experiences of blessing. Did we like it? Did we do it? Yes, no. Was it comfortable to do? Was it awkward? How did people react? And to bounce back some ideas of what we kind of did. Is that okay? Yeah, I feel like I do a lot of talking, and I want this to be the halftime huddle where we come in together and we talk together. We share our experiences. You know, this is not meant to be a monologue kind of thing where you come, you listen, you hear, that was nice, that was good, and away we go. I want you to engage it and bounce the ball and come back and bounce the ball with us, yeah? All right.